Hello and welcome to the first class of the Safe Connected Parenting Plan course. This entire class will be an introduction to the Safe Connected Nest program. Today we're going to be talking about what is a safe nest, what the program is, how does it work, what felt safety is, and even though we're going to be talking a little bit about some hard stuff, we're going to get into the good news, which is why I hope you're taking this course is whether you're building or rebuilding a nest, we want to get to the good part, and then we're going to have an activity. So what is the nest? Safe Connected Nest is a program for building or rebuilding secure attachment for families that are overcoming challenges. So this is whether you have a family that has experienced challenges altogether, or maybe you have a child, foster child, or you're taking care of a child or someone in your family, or an adoptive child that has some challenges of their own. While the program is built on these evidence-based practices, so practices and research that science has proven to be effective for all families, this program is really geared towards families that are overcoming challenges. But because it is based on optimal development, it will benefit all children, all families, and you can even apply the principles to yourself. So in an ideal situation, the nest is this really safe place for caregivers to love on and protect and nurture their baby birds. It's where the kiddos of whether they're itsy bitsy or they're disgruntled teenagers, it's where their needs are met, and it is a safe place for them to explore the world from. In a good, healthy nest, children do go out into the world. They feel secure to go out into the world, but they want to come back again because it is a safe place. So in a safe nest, safety is a person. It's not a place. So it's not your home. It's not the place that you live, although it might include it. Safety and connection and all the needs that need to be met are met by people. And so the good part about that is that wherever you go, your nest goes with you. And in fact, when your children go off and go to school or they're away from you, if you've created a safe nest for them, this safe space, this place where they know they belong in the world and they're cared for and they will be protected and loved and nurtured, then they carry that nest with them. So you are the home base, you are the nest. And so whatever situation that your family is in right now, the nest still applies to you. We have a lot of children that go between families, whether that's through foster care or step families. We have some parents that only visit with their kids on a phone call or get to see them once a week. And maybe that's only in a McDonald's parking lot. We have entire families that might be homeless, living out of a car or a shelter. So the nest is not dependent on where you live. Wherever you are with you and your children and your family, or the space that you hold, that is the nest that you're creating. The beauty of a safe nest is not only that it's portable, but it's absolutely unique to you. Unlike some other parenting programs that are going to teach you do ABC and 1, 2, 3, the nest is different. We really want you to embrace what makes you unique, what makes your family special. All of us have different flavors that we take to our nest. And in fact, that's going to be the first exercise that we do together. You know, what is the unique nest that you've created for your family? What fits the culture of your family and the personalities of you and your kiddos, and what makes it special? And so we kind of use this activity, the idea of an ice cream sundae. So if you and your family were an ice cream sundae, what flavor would you be? You know, some of us are organic vanilla, just plain vanilla, and some of us are a full banana split with every single topping, and maybe some that don't even belong on ice cream. And so we really want to embrace what makes your family unique. Are you special? Are you diverse? Are you simple? Are you complicated? Do you really like music and sports, or do you like reading and adventuring and different cultures? All of our families are unique, and I really want you to embrace what makes your family unique and special. And so just take a minute right now and write about that. Draw a picture if you want. What is the flavor of your nest? So over the next couple lessons, we're going to be talking a lot more about safety and what makes a nest safe. But one thing I really want to talk about first or cover is this idea of felt safety. And that's because we can think that our nests are safe And I understand that for some of your nests might not be safe. There might be ongoing domestic violence, or you might be unstably housed. But for some of you, your nest is basically safe, the space with you and your kids. But kids don't always feel safe, and even adults don't always feel safe when they are safe. And we call this concept felt safety. And so I want you to think about a time when you were safe and you didn't feel safe. With kiddos, we joke about maybe the monster under the bed or some other irrational fears that kiddos have. And it's like, there's no monster. I just put on the light. Can't you see? But if you stop and think about it, us adults do the same thing. There are times where we are safe, but we just don't feel safe. So think about that. What are some times maybe that you knew you were safe, but you didn't feel safe? Maybe it was a new situation. You started a new job, or went to a new, I don't know, a class or something like that, a new activity, and you were nervous or didn't feel safe. Whatever it is for you, what are some of those situations when you were safe and didn't feel safe? And then I want you to think about your irrational fears. How you as an adult, how we as adults still sometimes have irrational fears and don't feel safe when we are. And if that's true of us as grown adults, how much more so for a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old, or even younger. These kiddos do not have the life experience to necessarily tell them they're safe. And so we have to really create safety that goes just beyond them physically being safe. They need to be emotionally safe, to know that they're cared for, to know that they can be honest, to know that they can mess up and still be okay. All of these things are part of felt safety for all humans, little humans and us big humans. So take some time, work out those questions, a time when you were safe but did not feel safe. And were you rational? Were you a rational adult when you were in that situation? All kinds of things can affect the felt safety of our nests. It's not just irrational things. Of course, it is very rational things that may not pose immediate danger, but actually erode or wear away at this feeling of safety and security that we have. And this is really important for kiddos who are just learning to build security and really need a lot of security to grow and develop well. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that can affect the felt safety of our nests. And as I go over them, think about how have you experienced this? How have these things made you feel unsafe from time to time, either in your past or in your present? And the first one we're going to talk about is poverty, chaos, and chronic stress. So there's this concept called chronic toxic stress, which is a medically proven concept. It's actually a concept from the health field, not the mental health field necessarily, that just shows this chronically struggling with poverty and chaos and just struggling in chronic adversity in life actually has an impact on your physical health. It leads to high-risk behaviors such as drug abuse, self-harm, alcohol abuse, domestic violence. So it's kind of the precursor to a lot of those things, but just on its own, it's part of the problem for diabetes and heart disease and all these other issues that affect our health. So chronic toxic stress, poverty, these are real things that affect the felt safety of our nest. Just think about if you had a time when you couldn't pay a bill. We'll even call it the light bill. It's pretty important, but truth be told, would you die if you didn't pay the light bill? No, but when we have these bills that we can't pay, or maybe a problem with our car that we can't fix, it actually causes our body in that stress response to have the same response as if we are not safe. And so we don't want our body to feel not safe all the time. It was not meant to be chronically in that state. This also goes along with the next one, oppressive and dangerous environments. So this could be dangerous neighborhoods, just neighborhoods where there's a lot of violence or poverty. The house itself could be dangerous. Like if your house is so chronically messy that it's actually unsafe, the lights are the curtains are closed, there's no light getting in. That kind of household environment can be dangerous and oppressive. It can also include people that live in countries with oppressive governments, or they're a part of some group or subculture that might be in danger or threat, whether it's from the government or other people in their area. This could be cults, some religious environments. All these different things can be dangerous and oppressive and can affect the felt safety of our nests. Separation and loss. When parents go through a divorce or separation, kiddos lose a parent or a grandparent. Even if a child gets up and moves neighborhoods and has to get new friends, all of these things can make them feel unsafe. Homelessness. Obviously, there's a lot of stress involved with that, but just not having a secure and safe place to return to, that can make us feel unsafe. And even if you have a home, but you move frequently, this can have the same effect on a child where they don't necessarily have that security, or that security could be rocked a little bit and make them feel unsafe. Neglect or detachment is a problem. So in this case, a parent may not necessarily, or a caregiver may not necessarily be abusing the child, but they just don't pay any attention to them at all. Maybe they spend all the time in front of the TV or a device. And so you wouldn't say, oh, that child is abused, but the truth is that the impact of neglect and parent or caregiver detachment is just as profound as abuse on a developing child. Of course, you have real violence, and real violence can take many forms. There can be trauma, abuse, sexual abuse in the environment. A lot of times when parents are involved in a domestic violence relationship, they think the child is unaware that they're hiding or protecting the child. I could probably most assuredly say to you that that is not the case. Children hear, children see, children sense the aftermath, children sense the tension between parents. Now, we can't have these perfect environments. The children are going to see, parents fight under the most optimal conditions, or their caregivers fight under the most optimal conditions. But a little bit of that is healthy. If they see family making up and dealing with conflict, that can be really good for a child. But to be in an environment where there's trauma and abuse all the time, that is not good for a child. That even when they're not there, their safety has been jeopardized, and they don't feel safe wherever they are. Or you might be feeling like if you're the victim of domestic violence and you think that you're doing a good job of protecting your child, that child still might not feel safe because they know that you're in danger. So, and then I also want to add to that, if there's a real lot of violent video games and TV, things like that actually can make a child, especially a younger child, very young child that can't really process that can make them feel unsafe too, and erode at their safety. Of course, addiction and mental health issues can make a child feel unsafe. This could be for many reasons: the unpredictability, maybe the community that goes along with it, the behaviors, if somebody's on substance or having a bad episode of mental health issues. And it's a good time to point out is that, whether it's mental health issues or poverty or separation or loss, a lot of these things that we cannot control. Some of them we can't control, or are something that we're going to have to deal with. We can't protect our children from everything, but we need to acknowledge that these things affect the felt safety of our nest. They affect our child and their development. And if they are going on, if we have any means to stop it, control it, or make it better, we have a responsibility to do that. And also, if not, we're going to have to address it in some other way. But for right now, we're just acknowledging that these things can affect the felt safety of our nests. And then lack of knowledge or skills. A lot of us become parents without ever having been parented ourselves. So maybe nobody ever taught us how to be a mom. Maybe we didn't grow up in a house where there was ever dinner at the table, and all the children made their own meals. And so Everybody, all the adults just yelled at the children. We didn't use, any other type of discipline. And so we just don't know any better about what we're doing. And again, maybe you're just doing what your parents did, but the effect is still the same. And so that's something to be aware of too. So now that we covered all of those things, and there may be others that we haven't covered, something might be coming to your mind right now, but let's stop, not think about our children for a moment, but let's think about our own nests, okay? Which one of these, or which ones of these, affected the safety of your nest growing up? So which ones did you experience as a child? Like, be specific as you're either listing them out, thinking through them. What did that specifically look like for you? And what was that effect on you? How did it make you feel? How did it change your behavior? Did it make you feel safe? And are the effects of that still coming into your adulthood? So take a break right now, take some time, think about these things, make a list, which affected you in the nest growing up. How did they affect you? And then you can spend a little bit of time thinking about which one of these has my child been exposed to and is currently being exposed to, and make a separate list for that. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about stress in the nest. When we're talking about stress going forward, we're usually going to use this word adversity. And adversity doesn't always mean something bad. We can go through some adversity, and that's a good thing. When you study for a test, or you have a really hard time learning a concept, and then you finally get over it or pass the test or learn how to do a skill like riding a bike. When you overcome that adversity, that's really good. In fact, overcoming adversity and challenges of life that's how we grow, and we become big and strong and healthy, and we gain confidence to overcome future adversity. So adversity isn't always bad, but too much adversity, like I was talking about, that chronic toxic stress, that chronically feeling unsafe, can actually stunt our growth, can actually stunt the development of a child, their brain development, their emotional development. It can keep them in survival mode. Or if they have had a kind of healthy development, it can kind of knock them backwards. It can do a little bit of damage, and they might digress into some more childlike behaviors. And that actually applies to us adults too. If you take this pandemic as an example, adversity, we all experience some sort of global adversity. Maybe for each of us it was different, but there was challenges by the entire world we all faced some adversity. And some of us overcame that adversity and became stronger. But I would say generally society as a whole became a little bit more immature for at least a year or so. And I think we're still working our way out of that, growing back up. And so even grown, mature adults, if they experience adversity for a really long time, they can go backwards too. So grown, healthy adults, though, can get back up, and then they can, after a couple innings out of the game, they can get back in there. With children, it takes a little bit more work, because children they're developing, their brains are developing, their social emotional skills are developing. And so if they have adversity, the younger, the harder, it just takes a little bit more work to overcome that. And like I was saying earlier, childhood adversity has been proven to have negative health effects. So all of this was studied by the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. It was put on by Kaiser. They screened several thousand people with, they gave them 9 adverse childhood experiences, including abuse, parental addiction, parents being incarcerated, the different challenges somebody might face by 18. And what they found is that the more of those adverse childhood experiences they had, the higher risks they were for behavioral issues, like we see here, sort of that sedentariness, the addictions, having issues, missed work, those things. There was a practical link to the more experiences they had to those issues. And then, of course, the physical and mental health issues that we were talking about. In fact, as you can see by the triangle diagram, that ultimately people that have experienced chronic adversity and trauma actually they pass away earlier. They don't live as long a life. So whether you have experienced adverse childhood experiences and you're still working to overcome them, or you have a child that's gone through some of that stuff, I hope the message is pretty clear that it's really important to work on these things and work on recovery because the impacts are very real. We might be dealing with some immediate behaviors. Maybe a small child is throwing tantrums or not. Maybe they're not making their milestones, they're not walking on time, or maybe they're school age and they're having trouble in school. But the reality is that underlying all of that is issues that could go on for a long time and even into their adulthood. And so we really want to work on that. I'd encourage you can go online and find the adverse childhood experience study questionnaire online. It's only 9 questions. I would take it just for yourself, just so you could know. It's good information. Okay, so that was all the heavy stuff that we had to get through, kind of talk about, again, the importance of why we're doing what we're doing, why is this course so important, what we learn here. And now it's time for the good news. I want to encourage you, whatever you've been through, whatever you're overcoming, whatever your child's been through, whatever they're overcoming, damaged nests can be rebuilt. And not only can they be rebuilt, not only can we go forward and build a strong foundation, we can build them even stronger than they were before. So we can use some of that adversity. We can make stronger, healthier children. We just have to be committed to the process. And we also need to, if we're the child of adversity, if we've experienced that stuff, we need to be committed to working on our stuff and getting healthy too. And the benefit of that is every single thing you do, everything you do to work on you and help you and you get better, that is going to benefit your child. So the healthier you get mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything, the healthier that you get and the stronger that you get, the stronger the nest is going to be for your child. And so whether that's recovery or counseling, choosing safe, healthy relationships, ending toxic ones, learning to regulate your emotions, staying in one place for a long enough period of time, building some stability, learning new skills, getting your life in order, taking this course, all of the above. Everything you're doing works towards building your nest and undoing the damage that was done and building back a stronger nest than was possible before. And that is what I wish for you, that you would build a really strong nest. So bravo for taking this course. Good job, and stay with it. It's really worth it. Okay, more good news. This is what I like. Lots of good news. So there's statistics on all this stuff. There's even more. You can just find so much of this stuff online. But here are the benefits of implementing the protocols, the methods, the principles that we're going to talk about in this program. Building this strong, healthy nest. This is what will happen. This is what science says. The statistics say is that your children will be more confident. They'll be more willing to explore. They will eagerly return to your nest. So they'll go out into the world, but they'll want to be home, and reconnect with you and be safe. They get to have healthier relationships. They're less likely to go on into domestic violence relationship or relationships that break. They're more likely to have secure relationships. They learn better. So they'll do better in school. School won't be as much of a struggle for them. If you want kids to do really well, it's not just about reading them books and teaching them to write their letters. It's about building this safe, connected, healthy nest for them to grow in. If they're strong and healthy, then you can send them off to school and they will be ready for the teachers to do their job, and they'll just learn better. So if you can't do algebra, that's fine. Love them really hard and implement all the rest of the pillars we're going to talk about in the Safe Nest. They're more resilient to mental health issues and addiction. They can problem solve. This is really important. So they don't always need somebody to bail them out, or they don't have to constantly run away from their problems because they learn to solve their own problems as they get older. They can regulate themselves. Again, they're going to get in less trouble in school if they're regulated. They can delay gratification. Also really important. So they're not always looking for that instant gratification, which gets us in trouble as people. They can delay that gratification. They can look for the long-term vision. They can hold out for their goals instead of doing the next survival thing in front of them. They respond to discipline. So if you're having troubles disciplining your child, it's not just about finding the right discipline method. And in fact, if you've gone from one discipline method to the next, to the next, to the next, and 1, 2, 3 magic, and then this, and nothing's working, the problem isn't your discipline method. The problem is the holistic environment of your nest. And so if you want your child to respond to redirection and discipline, stay the course and finish this course. And of course, they have less health problems. And, hopefully, most importantly, they live longer. So all around, the statistics say it is so worth it to build a strong, healthy nest for your child. Last page of more good news. So this is a long-ish course. We're going to have 13 modules, so it's an investment of your time to be here. But the reality is there's only 6 main components that we're going to talk about in how to build a safe, connected nest. You don't need a master's degree in psychology. You don't have to get all these big concepts, even though we're going to talk about a lot of really interesting stuff like brain science. There's just these 6 things that we're going to work on doing, and we're going to talk about very practical, easy ways for you to implement them, and how to implement them and maintain the flavor of your nest. So you don't have to become somebody else. You don't have to parent the way somebody else did, but there are some really core things that need to happen if you want all those statistics to come true, if you want to optimize the environment for your child. And we're going to learn about providing safety and meeting their survival needs, connection, nurturing them, engaging with them, offering structure and what that looks like, and then strength building and challenge. So that's it. We'll keep coming back to these things in many ways and directions, and we'll kind of do a layered learning approach. So we'll cover them a little, and then we'll go back and cover a little bit more. So I promise it'll be understanding as we go along, but overall, it's not really that complicated. And of course, it's the acronym. So just remember safe, connected nest, and you'll have it down. So safety, connection, N for nurture, E for engagement, ST for structure, and the final S for strength building and challenge. This is the big overview of the whole course. You can see on there the 6 elements I just talked about. The next couple of classes, we're going to kind of be talking about systems and how the brain works and how development works and how our brains and bodies function together. That's really important. It's a really foundational concept to how the nest works, and it'll help you understand your child and be a little bit more empathetic for them. And not only that, especially if you are a child of adversity, if you've experienced trauma and challenges, if you weren't safe, if you didn't have healthy connections, if you weren't nurtured or engaged, or nobody gave you structure, or you weren't challenged, whatever the case may be, learning some of the brain science of how that all works is going to give you, it's like the gift of normal. You'll understand maybe why you've had some of the challenges, and hopefully you can make some improvements. So that's the big picture, but don't worry about it all right now. I just wanted to give you a heads up of where we're going to be headed over these next couple of weeks. Throughout the course, we're just going to walk it out one little step at a time. There's going to be lots of activities and questions to make you think about the material. And so you can just come along for the ride and do the next thing that's in front of you. So the final activity of the day is we're going to draw our nests. So get out some paper, crayons, markers, pencils, whatever works for you. It's not necessarily about the art. It's just about the activity, but we're going to have some fun with it, and we're going to draw our nests. So I want you to draw 2 separate nests, maybe 2 separate papers, or half on one side of the paper, half on the other. And first I want you to draw what your nests look like at the worst. So people picture that different ways. Some of it's kind of broken apart, some of it's jagged edges. A lot of people use words in the nest, around the nest, to help describe maybe there was domestic violence or physical violence or homelessness or separation. Whatever works for you to understand, like, this is what the nests look like. And then next to it, I want you to draw what you want your nest to look like. What is the goal? What are you aiming here for? What does a safe, connected, healthy nest look like for you? And do the same thing. Add some words. Add decorations that make sense to you, and picture what you want your nest to look like. What is the goal that you're working for? And then you can put it up on the fridge and look at it every day and sort of remind yourself, this is why you're doing the hard work. With that brings us to the end of lesson 1. I just thank you again for joining me and coming along on this journey, and I'll see you next time in Nest Parenting Program lesson 2.